Welcome to another episode of Arkansas Basketball Recap, that show that recaps every Arkansas basketball game. Hey, you might be like, you guys are always late now, but it's not our fault. We had technical difficulties and we are having to figure this out. We spent mad amounts of time trying to figure this out just so you could watch us talk about the game. Is that arrogance that you want to listen to us talk about the game that much, that we think that? I don't know, but we made a promise to recap every game, so that's what we're going to do, including this one, the Arkansas Razorbacks 70-58 win over the LSU Tigers, and in the must win, you had to have it. First half, wasn't nervous, but didn't like what I was seeing that much. It was like, man, come on, guys, let's just not have it happen this way. Second half, they came out and took care of business. Played much more aggressive, played much better the second half. Ended up getting the win by 12, which of course covers the spread. So, there was even that. They won by more than they were supposed to, even though I would have liked to have seen, like that 18, 20 point smackdown, but I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot of those with this particular team. Uh, this is one of those games, man, where you look at the numbers and you're like, I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know what I should not be good with. I mean, Arkansas shoots 52% from the field. I mean, can't complain about that. They're 33% from three. Maybe that's a little lower than you like, but they only shot 12 of them. So it wasn't like they were like throwing up bricks from the 3-point line. They made 4 of 12. And if you're going to shoot 33%, might as well only shoot 12 of them. They did that. They did suck from the free throw line, 10 of 17, 58, 59% the free throw line. So that wasn't great. You had them out rebound the LSU Tigers 39-33. So Jake loves that. Jake will tell you right now that's why they won, of course. Uh, Only turned the ball over 8 times in this game. It's weird. We had a couple of turnovers where I was like, "Come on, guys!" And then you look at the stats; they have 8 turnovers for the whole game, and you're like, "Well, I don't even know. Like, I can't complain about 8 turnovers in a college basketball game. That's how many? What are you supposed to have? None? Like, that's not going to happen." Um, and had 17 assists to those 8 turnovers. So that's great. I mean, 17 assists is fantastic for especially when you only scored 70 points. Can't argue with that. Lots of blocks, 7 blocks. It, so like the numbers just say like, yeah, you should be fine with it. Other than maybe you want to shoot the three a little better, you want to shoot free throws a little better. Uh, there were times where I thought like our defense wasn't that great, but then you give up 58 points and you're like, I don't know, it was been pretty good. They held LSU to under 40% shooting. That's good. Uh, 25, 5 of 20 from the 3-point line. Once again, teams aren't getting up threes on us as much as they want to, and they're not making them because they're either just bricking them, but at some point you're just like, I guess the contests are pretty good. And they played defense without fouling. This is the craziest stat I think of the whole game. LSU shoots 6 free throws in this game. And part of that's Big Z blocking shots and other guys blocking shots, I mean, and part of it's just Big Z being down there because Big Z's a weird guy. Like he's not great in the old pick and roll coverage. That middle pick and roll, not ideal because he gets trapped a little bit and then he's like guarding no one. And sometimes he recovers and gets the block from behind or whatever, but it's not great. But then again, there's the obvious thing, which is that he blocks a lot of shots. So you're like, well, then maybe he takes some away, he gives some up, or maybe it's a wash. But the amount of times in this game that I saw someone think about driving or get in the post and then or get to the almost even get into the lane and then be like, nah, and just decide that they weren't going to mess with that. That counts for something. Like you can't stat that, but that's a shot. If there's someone else down there, you're probably taking it. There's probably a decent chance, even if you miss it, you're going to the free throw line. But there's a lot of dudes when Big Z's on the floor, even though he's not great in the pick and roll, he's going to give that up on defense a little bit. There's a lot of shots that people don't take at all or drives that they don't make because they're just like, I don't want to be on the receiving end of what's going to happen to me if I go in there and throw this up. So there's that too, and that's not statable, but you can see it in the course of the game where guys are just being like, "Dang it, like I can't do that."
Yeah. I mean, Big Z, I mean, you just have to accept that he just doesn't have a lot of lateral foot speed. And, if he's, I mean, really, he's always going to be recover deep. Even if he's at all a couple of steps away from the basket, anybody is going to be able to almost dribble around him, and it's just a matter that he's still going to be back there lurking. So it's not like once you're around him that you have a free shot to the basket because he's still going to be trying to swat it from behind. But even on the post ups, and you saw that young freshman kid, do some fancy footwork. Like it feels like somebody like Broom from
Hmm.
Auburn is probably going to be able to. I mean, it's just he's just gonna have to play. Maybe he can block him at the rim because no matter where you are, if you're flipping it up there, I mean, he can, as long as he can get to it before it touches the backboard, he's got a shot. But yeah, his skill is his length. He, I mean, it's probably what will keep him from, or one of the question marks about him playing on the next level is he just doesn't have great foot speed when he's backing up. And if he gets leaning any direction, even if it's just a little crossover dribble, if you get him leaning, you can go around him because he just can't recover very fast. But thankfully, he's got freaking 11-foot wingspan, and he can still erase a lot of those deficits by just going to the rim and getting it before trying to get it before it gets up on the glass. And I mean, at this point, for sure, with the productivity that he's bringing to the Hogs right now, I mean, you're going to live with a couple of blown pick and rolls. I mean, I guarantee you his, plus minus is still pretty good,
Yeah, yeah,
even if he gives up 8 buckets that, not 8 buckets, 8 points that maybe a more fleet of foot defender would have kept. I mean, that same defender might have given up those 4 blocked shots that he makes, those points. So it's kind of a wash with him. He's going to give up a little bit. You're going to shake your head on a couple of defensive plays. But I mean, especially last night, I mean, the only critique of this game that I would have is Z's got to get more help. He's got to get more consistent help. I mean, and I don't even expect him to obviously score in the mid to high 20s every game, but we have got to have, if you're going to beat good teams, more guys in the high teens.
yeah,
We can't have all of our star players, with the exception of Z the last couple of games, scoring 11, 12, even 14. Like somebody's got to go out there. One of those guys has got to have a hot night. Thero, it could be Nelly or any of those guys. I mean, Knox, I would like to see if Knox gets 12, I think that's okay. But Nelly, Wagner, or Thero, one of those guys has got to be in the high teens.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like they don't all have to be, but they got to
yeah.
take turns. If one guy's eating, you feed him or whatever, but they can't all be under 15 points. I'm saying if you're going to beat good teams. Now, if everybody on the team has 15 points, maybe you can win a game. But last night, I mean, I looked at it earlier, but isn't it, what was it like? I mean, those guys' stats were like 11, 12,
Well,
9.
yeah, I'll go through them real quick. Just to the point before we move, Big Z has been awesome the last few games, obviously. He's a problem, man. Like I don't, he's just making shots. Got a soft touch. He's making threes, and I like that he's getting the ball at the rim and asking for it and dropping stuff in there. And when he gets the ball in the paint, when he's got the ball up high like that, there's not a lot of things that anyone can do about it. I like the inbound plays, getting him just coming downhill, just throw it up there to him and have him catch it, keep it high, and just dunk it. Like him dunking looks
Hmm.
hilarious because it looks like it's so easy. But hitting him on a pick and roll where Billy Richmond makes a sick pocket pass to him, and he's just dunking on someone's head. It's all great. But to the point too, just before we move on to talk about these other guys, do you know what I'm talking about? Where the what you can't measure is how many shots don't even go up in the paint because he's down there. That ball comes back out. Because I think that happened more than a few times where guys were
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Bro," and they're just like, "I'm not doing it. Like, there's nothing. I can't. There's nothing for me to do here." That makes a difference, man. Like just that deterrent, and like you're never gonna know how many of those shots are gonna go up or how many times those would have resulted in guys going to the free throw line and stuff. But just having guys having to think twice about it, it's just disruptive to whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's all good stuff on the D, and they score 58 points, and that's part of the reason why, where they're just like, gosh dang, dude, there's a guy down there just waiting to send this if I go at him. And Big Z is pretty good about high pointing stuff. He doesn't foul that much when he's trying to block shots.
Hmm.
He's got good timing, good anticipation. Obviously, he's super long, but he high points that thing. He doesn't have to get into your body to do it. Like he can wait for you to get that ball all the way up and then get rid of it. So that all being said, obviously Z has been great. I mean, 25 points, 4 blocks, in 28 minutes. Like 25 points in 28 minutes is ridiculous. Um, the other scoring that went down, so you had Nelly Davis was second with 11. He had 11 points. DJ Wagner had 10 points. Carter Knox had 9 points. Thiero only has 6 points in this game. We'll talk about him. Billy Richmond comes in with 4. Brazil had 3. Jonas had 2. Yeah, so like, yeah, you need like that, probably that. Now, to be fair, this is not a typical game for Thiero. So like typically in this, like I think this season, yeah, you might see if Vicha, if well, the last game where Big Z had 27, Thiero still had 18, something like that,
Hmm.
17, something like that. And that's kind of more what you're talking about. I think that Thiero is still like not he looks like he plays 27 minutes this game, which is not like a low amount of minutes, but he had big sections where he wasn't in foul trouble. Um, I don't know like how bad that flu was or whatever, but it seems to me that he's like maybe not like fully recovered. They were
Hmm.
trying to rest him and stuff. Like maybe his energy level is just. I mean, you know how, dude. If you've ever had the flu, like that can be 10 days before you're feeling 100%. Like you want to go play a college basketball game and play 32 minutes in it. So I don't know that for sure, but like it kind of looked that way to me. So we'll see what happens there. Uh, you'd like to see, yeah, if he has a regular Thero game and Big C can have 25, maybe you can get a little bit more from Nelly than 11. I mean, he's had what, like he had 3 games, he had 18, 18, and 24 or something like that. So he'll do, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. I like that Nelly found a way to get into double figures on a night that he wasn't shooting well. Um, the
Yeah,
th
he got to the foul line a couple of
yeah.
times, got some easy buckets that way. I mean, yeah,
And
like,
I love that Wagner had. I mean, he had 10 points, and I mean, he was only 4 of 8. He was 4 of 8, shot 50%. He didn't take that many shots. But dude, Wagner comes in here and gets 7 assists again. I mean, like he's distributing the ball.
yeah, I mean, I just think, like I said, LSU's, I mean, they're not a bad team, but I mean, obviously they beat us. I mean, not that we're a good team,
They're
but
not good. They're not bad in the scope of all of college basketball. They're not great.
I would say as a fan, I mean, not to be overly critical because like you do get the win and you find a way to win and not every game looks, I mean, Auburn's had some games that haven't looked that great and that they've
Mm.
barely won at the end. You know what I mean? Like you find a way to win. That's what good teams do. You don't always look amazing, but you would hope at home. We've just been so weak at home. I mean, the fact that when we got up by 10, they said this is our largest lead of the season at home. It's like, holy moly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's not a great stat, but the you kind of would hope. I did feel like they were not the defense didn't look, even though like statistically it was pretty good, but also LSU's not, like I said, that great of a powerhouse offensive team. But you could tell like the defensive intensity was back to pre the Kentucky game level. It was okay. It
I,
was
I,
it
I
was
would I
pretty
would
good defense.
I would say particularly the first half. I thought it was a little bit different the second half.
They didn't bring the swarming anaconda choking like bizarre, like where you're just like, man, those guys, nobody even wants the ball on the other team because they're just getting suffocated. That we saw against, honestly, Alabama, even though we lost that game, and obviously little bit with Kentucky, but Texas I think was the best. So I did feel like they like kept LSU. It allowed them to have just enough to keep in it
Yeah.
with our stagnant offense that did look a little bit more reminiscent of. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it has been. I mean, we still scored 35 points in the first half. That's better than we've had a couple of games where it was 10 points less than that, but it's still not exactly where you would like it to be. But I mean, if you want to look at the positive side, like you said, Thero is not going to have those few points very often. And also, we missed
Yeah.
a ton of, you couldn't really describe them as bunnies
Yeah.
because they weren't like
They're
wide
shot.
open, but they
They're
were,
shots. They're shots I miss. But like it's
well,
why.
they were drives
Yeah.
where they did the hard work. They
Uh,
got around the guy. They got all the way there, and these guys are capable of making those kind of, moving dribble drive layups. I mean, they got all the way to the spot, and then Nelly must have missed four of them where I'm not saying they were easy shots, but he put a little bit too much English on it or short armed them a little bit. And it was like they were shots where you watch the guy dribble in, and you're like, oh, he's got it. He's got it. He's got to the spot. And then he just blows the very last part of it. And he did that. Like I said, Nelly missed maybe at least four of those, I think. And Wagner missed, two or three as well. And I mean, that makes a big difference. And then you talk about the free throws. If you make your free throws and make half of those layups, you are up by 18 at some point in this game. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you would kind of like as a fan. You want to see, if you're thinking about Arkansas as a improving team that's moving ahead of these people like South Carolina and LSU. You want to see us, build a 15 to 20 point lead on one of these teams eventually at home when, you're capable of it. But they also, the guys, the perimeter shooters, with the exception of Big Z, didn't shoot that well. I mean, like you said, it wasn't terrible because they didn't take that many, but they had some wide open looks that they just didn't go down. And
Do you feel like earlier in the season though, like they would have tried to shoot themselves out of that instead of doing the smart thing, which is like, we're gonna actually try to get into the paint, get to the rim. Take. I think it's just an improvement that they did. No one was like making it rain except for Big Z, and so they only took 12, which is like the
yeah.
right thing to do, right?
Hmm.
That's because I think there's a version of this that happens earlier in the season where like they go 4 of 12, and you're like, yeah, there's a version of this where they go 6 of 24
Hmm.
because they just kept throwing them up. And maybe that's different if you're like losing, so you feel you got to come back or something. I don't know. That feeds into it. But I was, hey, if it's going in, shoot more. If it's not, get to the rim. I felt like they did a good job of identifying that, or Cal did, or who knows, whatever his players or him, um, both.
Well, the only one of the reasons I want them to shoot better is not just because I want the 3 point buckets. It is that, and I mean, I don't think we're quite this team yet, where not like that, that Musselman team with, Anthony Black and those guys, where every team that we came into, it was ridiculous. Like every team was playing, it wasn't a zone, but they might as well have been in because they were playing like 5 feet off of all the perimeter
I,
shooters, and it made
I,
it so hard to
yeah.
drive. But if you notice, the fact that Big Z is a lot of the time where the action starts in that high pick and roll, that the reason that is because he's right now the only guy on the team that other coaches and players are going, you can't let him be wide open at the 3 point line. So when he gets in that screen and he slides over, his man has to go with him. He can't play off, and that gives Wagner and Nelly guys driving lanes. You know what I mean? And if those other guys were making those open shots, it would make the inside game, it would open up even more so. And I want those percentages to go up, just mostly because so when coaches scout us, they don't play off as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, Z is shooting like 45% from three on the season. And so, and not on like, it's not like he took six of them or something like that. Like he's shoot a lot of them. And so, and Nelly's percentage is pretty good now too. So I think the difference between that team that you're talking about and this team is that teams do know that like you can't let Big C and Nelly just like shoot wide open three. Like that's not gonna work. Like so yeah, it does extend it a little bit where it makes those driving lanes better. Yeah, that other team, Musselman team, they were just like there was not even one guy at the roster that they were like better don't no air room for him. That did
Mm.
not exist. But yeah, Big Z makes a big difference in that because, and I don't know what his percentage is when he's shooting wide open, but it's real high because
Yeah,
he's at
and
he
look,
makes his own percentage go down shooting some of them that you're like that's crazy. But when he's just like feet set, throw him the ball and he's wide open, dude, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's well above 50%. I'll tell you that.
well, and really, it's even when he has his feet set and he gets a good look. It's not because there's two different kinds of guys say wide open shot, and then there's a wide open look. And the wide open look is you weren't there when the guy caught the ball and he sees the basket and has gets the ball in the shooting chamber, and then by the time he releases it your hand's right there giving him a high five, but that's too late. He saw the basket, he was able to lock and load, and just because you were there giving him a high five as he released it doesn't matter. He got an open look. And then there's an open shot, which is just when somehow the defense breaks down and the guys no one's there at all. And a lot of times the open shot's harder to make than the open look. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
lot of times the wide open shot is you're too open and you just freaks you out. But Z, when he sees the basket, I mean, he shot a couple of them last night where the guy was up in his jersey even when he caught it. I mean, he just happened to be shorter than him, but and he made one of those. But yeah, honestly, when he catches it, if the guy is a step off of him and he loads it, I feel pretty good about it most of the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
when he shoots it, even if a guy's right there. The only times you feel weird about it is when he does like, maybe fade away or catches it and shoots it more. You can tell he hurries it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Or shooting it off the dribble, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But moving on to another guy, there's two other guys I thought were really good. I like the way DJ Wagner played this game. Like it wasn't like the eye test wasn't like, oh man, it was so amazing, but man, his assists have been crazy. Like he's like had 9, 8, 7, like, and he's really distributing the ball well. Uh, I liked this version of Carter Knox again. I had 9 points, and that's fine. Like that's kind of where you expect him to be, so kind of around that 9, 10 range. Is I think I'm very happy with that for him. He was also 4 of 5. I mean, he only took 5 shots, made 4 of them. Uh, but what I really like is the 8 rebounds. Like he was in there rebounding again, and I'm telling you, dude, like there's been a couple games now. I think it was I don't remember which game it was. Was it the Georgia game that we won? And he was so big, like just throwing himself down there and trying to grab offensive rebounds and stuff. And uh, bro, I like he can do it. Like, and when he wants to be that guy, he can. Like, I mean, he's big and strong and athletic, and you see it at times where you're like, dude, there's a little something something there. If you wanted to play like that all the time, and I'm not saying he plays lazy or anything like that, but there are times where you're like, you could be a real problem in like the stuff that makes you win basketball games. Really, you actually can do that stuff pretty well if you really want to. It's hard. You gotta like want to do it. But I liked the way he played, especially the second half. I felt like he was getting in there. I liked his shot selection again. Like he only took 5 shots, made 4 of them. He wasn't forcing anything. Made it was a made he was other than Z, he was the only guy that made a three, and it was a good wide open look. Had a really good transition layup where he just went and like that was actually a pretty tough layup. Looked really pretty, like sidestepping, throw it over the rim. So I thought he was great. And I thought Billy was good again. Like Billy's
Yeah,
like
Billy
so
Richmond
much energy.
shows he shows a few things. Like, I mean, I don't, who knows if it's an anomaly or if he'll be able to develop it, but man, he has a weird amount of straight line speed.
Yeah.
And if he can learn to control it, like, because I mean, he does land hard. Like, I mean, when he goes up, sometimes he just, like I said, he doesn't have any parachute ideas. Um, but he had one where I thought he was covered up. I didn't think he went around. I mean, he just drove all the way down the court, and he was going so fast that I was like, man, I don't think he's going to be able to. One, the defender was still there, and I mean, it was like the third or fourth defender, but like the guy was still there at the elbow or at the block, and somehow he flipped it in at going 100 miles an hour. And
Yeah.
if he can do that, if he can go that fast and then finish, I mean, like I said, if he can develop that he has a chance to be a lot better player than I initially thought.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I initially thought he was just going to be like a defensive guy that maybe gets a couple of putback rebounds. But I mean, if he can keep developing that jump shot, that mid-range jump shot, and those downhill drives, like, I mean, he could be a good
this is
offensive guard.
yeah. Well, think about this with Billy Richmond. One, like the defense is already there. Like he's already like he's that freshman. When he goes into the game, he's guarding whoever their best guard is. That's how it works. He gets down in defensive stance. He's got long arms and stuff too, man. Like he is yeah, like that dude's a lock already as a freshman. You're like, obviously this dude's going to be like a lockdown defender. This guy having Billy Richmond guard you sucks. Like I can tell that as a guy that's played basketball, I can tell that sucks. Um, but offensively, yeah, dude. Also, by the way, he had 4 assists in 22 minutes in this game too. Which is like he's doing pretty decent things at the point guard spot when because he's the guy that's filling in for DJ. They've made him the point guard,
Hmm.
and he makes pretty good decisions. And uh,
Which is an interesting choice by Cal to not put Nelly in that position.
yeah, he just wants him to run around and not have to do that. And Billy go in 22 minutes with the 4 assists. He also has 0 turnovers, 4 assists, no turnovers. It's good. But so you have that. So like his vision is not bad for the game. I mean, he had the sweetest pass of the game. That pocket pass to Big Z is a great pass.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, he put some English on that to get it around that guy, and it just like was one of those ones that just hit the ground and then just rolled right up into the pocket.
yeah, dude, that was really nice. Um, but yeah, so offensively, that was probably the thing where you're like, hey, can his offensive game develop? But yeah, his like straight line burst and just like I mean, dude, how fast he can get from one end of the floor to the other is pretty crazy. Like it's noticeable, I guess is what it is. Like there's lots of guys that are fast, but you're like, God dang, dude. Like that guy is moving. And you're right. Like if you can do that and finish, like everything's a fast break to you. Like you're like, yeah, you guys better get your defense set up because I'm about to blow by everybody. And the other thing is uh that when you're that explosive and that fast, and he is 6'6", and and he looks like he has a little mid-range game, and if he can keep improving on that, a 6'6" guy with that kind of speed is going to be able to get mid-range pull-up jump shots whenever he wants, dude. You know how many guys are going to be on their heels? Like if you're in the half court and you're just that kind of burst, that kind of quickness, that kind of length then to elevate and get the shot over, you're like, yeah, dude, there's a little something something there. Like
Yeah,
that's not bad.
I really think if he just needs to work on improving his probably his ball handling a little bit. Like if he had a little bit of could dance out there a little bit of Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose,
Yeah.
get him leaning one direction or the other. I mean, obviously that's probably one of the most unique abilities in all of basketball is just the person that can if you can get that ball on a string and then mix that with your God-given, athleticism and speed, then you have something. Well,
Yeah.
we probably ought to wrap this up. I know you got
Yeah.
stuff to go, and we've got duct tape all over this thing. I'm
Yeah.
using my phone. That's why the perspective's different. And actually, like I said, my phone, plugging into this microphone is sucking the battery down. Like
Yeah,
it's
dude.
just so.
Well, we'll be back this weekend. Got the must win, and now, hey man, if you can find a way, Arkansas, like you're gonna start feeling really good about where you're at if you can find a way at Texas A&M. And that is that gonna be easy? No, it is not.
No, they're gonna have to play better than they did tonight.
Yeah.
So I mean, Big Z's not. Big Z, if he does that, and Big Z doesn't have to do that every night, but in order to beat these teams, somebody's got to have an outstanding night, like 20 plus. Someone's got to be in the 20s, and then somebody else, and it's probably these are going to be Big Z or Thero flipping who gets to be, whoever's one of those guys has got to have over 20, the other guy's got to have high teens.
Yeah.
And then and then Nelly and
Yeah,
the other
DJ
guys,
Knox, they can all have 11 or whatever, and that's
they can
fine.
all have 11, 12. Maybe one of them gets 14, whatever. But we need two guys in the high teens, low to mid 20s, and it doesn't matter who it is, but they got to have more guys participate in scoring a little. I mean, in order to beat teams better than LSU.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
But hey, I will 1,000% take the win if you'd have asked me, you know, yesterday morning, will you take a 12-point win over LSU tonight, or do you want to see how it plays out? I'll be like, oh, I'll take the 12-point win. That's fine. I'll
yeah.
absolutely take it. So, yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll leave it there, man. We'll see what we can do against the Aggies.
All right.
All right, see ya.
Have a good one. See ya.